What up? It's Grandpa coming at you with another video. Like, subscribe, and share, comment. Alright, so I'm gonna talk about Paul George. Uh man, Paul George is so he took time off the podcast, but now he's taking time off from the team. Oh man, another injury, another year where he's sitting down and not doing anything. Now, I've been watching Paul George for a while. I've watched the come up. I've watched the injury, the downfall, and now where he at now. Pandemic P. I remember that. I watched that. Very disappointed because going for Kawhi Leonard. That's one of my favorite players. But I'm gonna just give a brief overview of his career from the start to now, like I always try to do. So Paul George gets drafted by Indiana. Um, he's a bench player. Danny, what was his name? Danny something. They was comparing to Pippen though. I didn't catch that. I ain't pretty. I ain't agree with that. They was comparing old boy to what was Dan. It was Danny something. Dang it. Anyway, he gets hurt. Paul George gets inserted. Um, Seems that the team is lifted by that. They go and they were playing. They were a scrappy little team. Um, the famous dunk uh, on LeBron in the playoffs that brought him a lot of attention, put him on the map, so to speak. But from there, I mean, they continue to progress a little bit. Then he's on the Olympic team. Gets hurt, breaks his leg, if I'm not mistaken. Tragic injury. He comes back. He's a little, it takes him a little bit of time to get back in the rhythm. Uh, he was progressing, but uh, internally, it was some things going on with Indiana that it got a little run. But one key thing that I will, because I don't try to put the personal stuff, but the one key thing that took down the Indiana Pacers of that period was the issue with Hibbert's what's his name? Hibbert. That was the center. His girl. He was Paul George ended up scooping him, and that caused a lot of stuff. That caused a lot of issues. Basically, it ended Hibbert's career because Hibbert wasn't ever the same after that. You could see he was just different. Now, Roy Hibbert, that's it. Roy Hibbert came from Georgetown. He was I'm not gonna say he was a stiff, but they had to work on him. He was kind of like a project guy. I remember when he got drafted, he was kind of like a project guy. So to his credit, he built his way. He worked his way up. He improved a lot. One thing about him, you could say he was in that middle, and it was gonna be hard to get around him. So that was part of the reason why Miami Heat had an issue with them, because as we all know, LeBron hates playing against centers, and that was one of the reasons why they gave them a run more than what they should have. So, Paul George, basically destroys the chemistry of their team because of his action, and then they dismantle the team. So he gets traded to OKC. He's paired with Russell Westbrook. They have pretty good chemistry going. Honestly, it was his best year, one of his best years. He was considered before he got hurt. He was considered. It was MVP whispers before he got hurt. Because he was balling out. I admit that. But after he got hurt, it really wasn't. That's when it started. The disappearing in the playoffs. He started disappearing in the playoffs around that time. So he stays in OKC a couple of years. Then him and Kawhi, teamed together in LA. At the time, everybody thought they was already gonna make it. They was gonna go to the championship, but it wasn't to be. Different injuries. It seemed like if Kawhi was healthy, he wasn't healthy. Then when Paul George be healthy, Kawhi would go down. It's been a time in Clipper land. I say that. So he gets traded to Philly, following the contract that the Clippers try to offer him, and he said he felt disrespected. Now, from the time from the time he was in LA to the time he left, I don't see where he distinguished himself as something to be like something to pay on Kawhi Leonard's level. Him and Kawhi Leonard are on different levels. He could have been on Kawhi Leonard's level because he was going that way, but for whatever reason, might be because he's not putting the work in on the court. His game hasn't progressed. It seemed like it's got worse. So now he's in Philly, and now he's hurt again. Then he doubled the the frustration from the fans by being on this podcast, and then he probably heard the whisper. So then he said he was gonna shut it down. Now he's out again. So Paul George, not a tragic, because I mean, like, the only tragedy that befell him was the injury in the playoffs. But I think Paul George has kind of like squandered his opportunity, and it's whispers that it's conversation that he might be on the move this summer, which would be wild because that's like what you got: Indiana, OKC, LA Clippers, Philly. That's 4 teams. Two in the last couple of years. So that's gonna kind of like diminish him a little bit. So we'll see how this goes this summer with him, because it's no more. It won't be any too much to talk about from him during this rest of the season. He might start podcasting again. Who knows? So it's Grandpa signing off.